next day after Christmas, and the second day of the 12 days of Christmas, and Kwanzaa. So we got a lot of celebration of light and love today. And we have a piano costume failure. Here we go. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be open. Ask and shall be given. And the love of the that's trickle down. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be open. Ask and shall be given. And the love come a trickling down. Oh yes, Spirit is present. Oh yes, Spirit is present. Oh yes, Spirit is present. And the love come a trickling down. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be open. Ask and shall be given. And the love come a trickling down. I see Spirit within you. I see Spirit within you. I see Spirit within you. And the love come a trickling down. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be open. Ask and it shall be given. And the love come a trickling down. And the love come a trickling down. And the love come a trickling down.
Good morning and welcome to Unity of Walnut Creek. My name's Brunley.
And my name is Carl Jansen. Good to see you guys this morning. Please join us in turning to the camera and waving to the folks at home. Your presence adds to our spiritual community, and we're so glad to have you with us this morning. But there's a lot of people there today.
So we're grateful for our music directors, Lisa and Tyler Snortum-Phelps, for providing music for us today. We also have Dusty on the bass and Dan on the drums. Thank you for sharing your music with us.
Today, Reverend Kristen shares her thoughts on Christmastide giving. There we go. As we begin, I invite you to turn your phones to silence as we share this sacred time together.
But first, let's take a moment to be grateful for the land that our center rests upon. This is Ohlone, Bay-Miwok, and Yukat's land. We honor its ancestry, and we are grateful for those who have come before us. We commit to taking care of these sacred native grounds and for all of Mother Earth.
Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. Our vision for the world is we envision a spiritually awakened world where all life thrives in conscious oneness.
And our mission is who we've come here to be. So let's say this together. We are a loving, inclusive community, expanding and living our divinity in sacred service for all. And our core values are love, connection, service, and wisdom.
If you're with us for the first time, welcome. Please feel free to raise your hands and we may acknowledge you. A tentative hand over there. How you doing? Glad to have you here today. Please visit our bookstore across the patio after the service and receive a welcome packet and a gift. If you need help receiving this, please let an usher know, or any one of us, and we hope you'll choose to meet some of us on the patio after the service.
Connection cards are available in the newcomer welcome packets in the seat pockets in front of you. These are for everyone. With this card, you may submit a prayer request, and our prayer team will be praying with you throughout the week.
You may also share feedback or request information, so please place your card in the basket later in the service. For those of you viewing online, connection cards are available on the Watch Live page on our website.
Please consider comfort levels when greeting one another before and after the service with namaste bows, elbow bumps, handshakes, or hugs. We welcome you to socialize on the patio and visit our bookstore after the service.
Our campus is open for on-site classes and groups. Masks must be worn indoors at Unity, so please wear your mask properly, as we all know, over the nose and down under the chin. Masking outdoors is optional.
As we head towards this is 2023. As we head
Wow,
towards
that's
2022,
very far out in the future. Forget.
we have plenty of activities to support you with starting the new year of 2022. So join us on New Year's Eve at 7 p.m. for our annual Burning Bowl ceremony. Release concerns and patterns that weigh you down so that you can start the new year lighter and freer. During this service, you may want to reflect on where you want to invest your energy and set your heart ablaze with zeal and the promise of a wonderful 2022.
Our Whitestone ceremony is next Sunday at the 9:30 and 11:30 services. And during this ceremony, we will each receive a guiding word from Spirit, which will enhance our ability to accomplish our goals in 2022.
For many of us, the COVID pandemic has increased our stress level. If you're feeling more upsetting emotions, we have the perfect class for you. So please join me in the mindful way through emotional distress. Together, we'll engage in an experiential journey of utilizing mindfulness-based cognitive therapy to free ourselves from emotional distress. And there's a sign up on the patio if you're interested.
So please see our website for a full listing of all events and in-person events or online. If you are not receiving our weekly e-news, use the connection card link on the Watch Live page to sign up. You may also wish to discuss Sunday messages and more with your community on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. at the weekly Spiritual Growth Circle. The meetings are currently hosted online via Zoom, and the Zoom number is at the website.
As we prepare to light the Kwanzaa candle, please join me in taking a conscious breath. And let's affirm our statement of faith together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God.
And now we invite Reverend Kristen to the platform.
Feel the power? Into 2022. That's the monitor, I guess, anyway. Anywho, moving on. I want to invite Candy Jones forward. Come on up, Candy. And I want to share with you some news. Early this morning, Archbishop Desmond Tutu made his transition. Yeah, many of you know him as this beloved spiritual leader in the world. He was somebody who led the charge through apartheid in South Africa, who really emulated and led the way for a nation to forgive and to reconcile and stood for justice for all people. And so we are honoring him today. He said that God's dream is that you and I, and that all of us realize that we are family, that we are made for togetherness, for goodness, and for compassion. And so in honor of Archbishop Desmond Tutu and the first day of Kwanzaa and the meaning it holds of unity, our friend Candy Jones, a member of our Unity community, is going to share with us a little bit about Kwanzaa and light our candle of unity. Thank you, Candy.
Kwanzaa begins today. Each day during Kwanzaa, we light a candle to represent the day's principle. The 7 principles of Kwanzaa are unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibilities, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, faith. Today's principle is unity. To strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. This poem unites my brothers and sisters. Is by Sonia Dixon. Here we are on distant shores, searching for loved ones lost, knowing their pain and suffering was an ocean of love lost. Can't you see the sun is shining, bringing energy of love all? Come, my people, unite together. Wake up, stand up. Be the love for all. The bells are ringing. It is time to answer the call of one. Get together, my brothers and sisters. It's time. You must unite as one. Unite, unite. It's time, it's time. You must unite as one. Hold together, brothers and sisters. It's time to unite as one. Now I light the first candle of Kwanzaa for unity.
We invite you to flow with us now into meditation led by a song that Lisa will sing for us. If you're here for the first time, we'll have a little guidance after that and some silence.
I breathe in, I breathe out, I take in, I give out, I let go, I let go, I release. And I know, breathe, 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 breathe. I breathe out, I take in, I give out, I let love, I let go, I
So we continue to consciously breathe, to be aware of that refreshing breath in, and the release as we breathe out. Infilling and letting go. Giving and receiving. This conscious breath, a gift of life. It keeps on giving as we give to the trees and the earth, as they give back to us. As we breathe the very life breath of spirit and allow it to breathe us. Every conscious breath in this way, we begin to relax further and to open further. Noticing the spaciousness that comes in our bodies. Space between muscles and bones, between organs and tissues, filled with the divine. Every conscious breath we take. The breath moves through us so easily and effortlessly. The boundaries of our bodies seem suddenly blurred into the energy field that is infinite. The breath moves through us like a gentle breeze. And we ourselves are more expanded. At once, the breath is calming and giving life and energy. This gift, this breath, let us take it into the silence now, allowing ourselves to continue to be infilled and to let go. Surrender over to the very breath of God that is breathing us in the silence. The gift of breath is the gift of life, a tool that brings peace, that animates our being, that brings health and wholeness, action. Supports us when we are exerting ourselves and giving ourselves in passion to the world in service. And it supports us when we rest. And so we flow with the abundant nature of the divine, giving and receiving, the simple act of breathing. Thank you, thank you, thank you for my breath and my life and this giving and receiving dance that is happening in and through and as me right now. And so it is.
When I look in your eyes, I can see the beloved looking back at me. When I stand next to you, I can feel the beloved in you. You are in my soul, you are my inspiration. With you in my heart, I am never alone. We are one. There is no separation. When I rest in you, I'm home. When I touch your heart, I can feel the beloved touching me. When I open my heart, I open to the beloved in you. Soul, you are my inspiration. With you in my heart, I'm never alone. We are one. There is no separation. When I rest in you, I'm home. touch your heart. I can feel the beloved touching me. When I open my heart, I open to the beloved in you. Beloved in you. Is the beloved in me? Beloved in you. Beloved in you.
You never know what's going on behind the scenes, you know? But I'm going to give you. So I think it was late on the day before Christmas Eve, we found out that the pianist and the soloist who had been rehearsing had a pretty bad cold, and so he wasn't going to be able to make it. And Diane Hardy, I hope you're tuning in, our music director for Christmas Eve, did a lot of shuffling to make things happen, as did our music directors, Lisa and Tyler. And so just big thanks to the community for pulling everything together. And then we were so excited this morning. We had this harpist coming. And so on Christmas Day, the emails are flying back and forth and the phone calls and the texts because the harpist had been exposed to COVID. So I want to give a big thank you to Lisa and Tyler, who on Christmas Day pulled together beautiful music for this morning. So what a community. Thank you. Thank you for your gifts. Do you remember the song, The 12 Days of Christmas? So according to that song, yesterday your true love would have given you, anybody know? A partridge in a pear tree, and today they would have given you. Now, who knows why these gifts, right? It's sort of a bird theme, and then it switches to leaping, lords leaping, and maids a milking, and all kinds of strange things. And I don't know why. I looked it up, and I think it just comes down to just a silly little tune because it's the joy of Christmas. So why am I telling you about this? Well, it's because of this time period that we're in, the 12 days of Christmas. We don't really talk about that much anymore, but actually it's this period of time called Christmastide that is still a season in and of itself, and really it's a season of giving, marked by Christmas Day, a day that we often exchange gifts, and Epiphany, the last of the 12-day period, which is also a day of giving gifts that we'll talk about in a little bit. So I want to talk primarily about two different ways of giving. They're not so different because spiritual giving is in everything, but just to look at these two from a couple different lenses. One is social giving, and the other is spiritual giving. So what do they look like on the surface? And more importantly, what is underneath the surface of that impetus to give, and what happens within us as we step into the process of giving, the wonderful opportunity to give. So as a community, we've been involved in social giving, especially during this season. So many of you purchased teddy bears. We had our whole space here filled with teddy bears climbing up the ladder, and homemade teddy bears as well as bought teddy bears. And all of those were given then to children who are in protective custody, moving into the foster care system or out of the foster care system or in between perhaps. And so that is a form of social giving. We also have, as you can see in our foyer still, these bins overflowing with warm items for people who are without shelter right now, and people who are facing food insecurity. I think we filled 3 of those bins, and we probably can go on to 4 or 5 quite easily. So thank you for your generosity. Yes, yeah. So when we give in this way, it feels good, doesn't it? It feels good. It fills up our hearts to give in this way, to know that we are supporting somebody who is in need right now and able to do something out of our own abundance and our own sharing and our own generosity that says, I can make some difference. I can make a little dent, or maybe even a huge gift in somebody's life, some experience of great gratitude that might come from that. Abraham Olagbegi is a young man who knows this feeling of the goodness of it so well. He's 13 years old, and one day he was out running around and playing, and when he came in, he told his mother his chest was hurting. A little bit later, he was taken to the hospital, and eventually he was diagnosed with a rare blood condition that can be fatal. For the next many months, Abraham went through chemotherapy and radiation, and finally he was given a life-saving bone marrow transplant. And the Make-A-Wish Foundation is an organization you've probably heard of before, that when children are in really difficult health situations, perhaps even fatal ones, that the Make-A-Wish Foundation offers them a wish that they'll grant. And so Abraham was offered 3 choices of a wish. And for a 13-year-old boy, they all sound pretty good. A trip to Disneyland, a PlayStation, or a 21-speed bike. Now, he was pretty excited about the PlayStation idea, and he was dreaming about that everyone in his family would get a PlayStation and that they could all, experience this together, and what fun that would be. But when it came down to it, he changed his mind. And what changed his mind is he was starting to reflect on what he had been through. And he wanted something that gave a little more meaning to what he had been through. He wanted to be given something that was really touching his heart more deeply. And his greatest wish was to feed the homeless. And so he was granted that wish. And he was granted that wish in such a way that he was able to provide 700 plates for 8 months. Yeah, and I know, isn't that wonderful? He lives in Jackson, Mississippi, and they set him up with a program. It's called Abraham's Table, and so he staffs his table, and people come, and local businesses and local churches have gotten really excited about his story and have gifted more, so more is flowing in and flowing through at Abraham's Table. And so he had told USA Today that he likes to give because it makes him feel joyful. Oh, there he is on the left in his healing process, and on the right at his table. He said that at his events, the attendees are dancing and singing and smiling, and he said it just makes me feel good that they feel so good, and that it warms his heart. So Abraham's advice, because he has this really special place in his heart for people who are without shelter, he says this regarding homeless people: before you put your nose in somebody's business, put your heart in their place first. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. Which leads us to another aspect of giving, especially around this kind of idea of social giving, which is regard. How we regard the recipient of our gift is maybe just as important as the gift itself. That we regard in such a way that we are coming from the fullness and the wholeness consciousness of spirit rather than the consciousness of lack. See, the consciousness of lack would allow us to say that somehow this person maybe is broken or unwilling to help themselves or unable, or that we'd slap some kind of identity label on someone that they're a homeless person, and so as if that's their forever identity, right? Or they're a poor person. Instead of recognizing on the other side, when we step into the wholeness and the fullness consciousness of giving, we see that there are temporary conditions and situations that we all go through in our lives. There are ebbs and flows in the abundance of all of our lives, and there are times when we are more in need of support from another than others. So when we step into that bigger level of consciousness, we see the divine being And we see the equality between us. And then it flows. Then the giving flows. There's no sort of hierarchical idea here. There's just an outpouring of the heart that says, here is my sibling that is in this moment in need. Instead of a homeless person, a person temporarily without shelter. Instead of a poor person, a person temporarily without the financial means. So when we shift that perception and drop the labels, something really magical happens. We begin to see the truth. This Christ spirit that we've been talking about during the Christmas season comes alive for us. We can see it more in each other, and we can see it more in ourselves. When we are able to open up, we open up to that more expansive way of knowing and seeing and feeling and experiencing and moving about the world. And then everything becomes more of a flow. Everything comes more into that sort of dancing, flowing energy that is this law of circulation, a key abundance teaching, a prosperity teacher that says, as I give, so I receive. I just keep doing this because it's that infinity symbol, right? It's breath, right? It's what we just did, breathe. We didn't plan that. Lisa didn't plan to sing breathe. It just comes, right? Because we start thinking about prosperity, and it's like, yeah, the giving and the receiving, the thing that we bring with us at all times, the thing that we can give to this person, the underlying consciousness that can be delivered is so powerful, maybe more so than even the physical gift. That doesn't mean if somebody's hungry, we shouldn't give them something to eat, or, you get that. So how can we not share our good when we step into this kind of way of being, right? Because when we fully step into it, then suddenly we know no stranger. Then suddenly everyone in the world, the humanity truly becomes our family. And everyone, whether they are a stranger or somebody close to us, is our sibling or our parent or our child. It puts a whole different perspective on things when we begin to see in this way and move about the world in this way and treat each other with the same kind of dignity that we would want for our own parents, for our own child, for our own sibling, for ourselves. So that's the beauty of shifting and recognizing that generosity is a lasting gift. It never ends, right? When we extend a generous interpretation to others by their actions and their words, we are giving them that kind of gift. When we extend that generosity to ourselves, when we suspend judgment, all of this is a giving. Tracy Lee LaRussa says, judge tenderly if you must. She said, there is usually a side you haven't heard, a story you know nothing about, and a battle waged that you are not having to fight. I think we have a slide of that, John. So when you have caught yourself judging, or you're in maybe the process of judging, or maybe even better yet, you can catch yourself right before judging, you can remember these things. That there is usually a side you haven't heard, a story you know nothing about, and a battle waged that you are not having to fight. So when we catch ourselves, we can do a very simple practice. We can go, oh, okay, judging's happening, right? It's like meditation, right? So, here comes judging. And then we can go, open it up. I don't know. And it drops the judgment, right? Because it comes out of the thinking we know. That's where the judgment comes, right? Thinking we know. And this whole game that the ego plays of puffing up so that we're better than, or diminishing so that we're smaller than. It's an exhausting game. So we can just step out of it and go, you know what? I'm not playing that game because I don't know. I don't know that person's story. I don't know what's going on inside. Even if it's it's your beloved, the closest person to you. You can't be inside of them. You don't know their emotional state. You don't know their full history. You don't know everything that's happened to them in this lifetime and maybe previous ones. You don't know what all they're carrying in their soul and their heart. We can't possibly know it all. We don't even know ourselves that well, right? How do we expect to know the people around us so well? So practicing this I don't know then automatically expands and opens us into that wonderful place called curiosity. I don't know. And it keeps us in that curious space of a willingness to engage in life and the freshness of the moment of life. And to engage then in the opportunity to give to ourselves, to give to others, to give to the moment, because we are open to it, right? If we're rushing around all the time and focused just on what we have to do and how we have to push through and how we get first in the line and we have to get ahead in the car, and it's just like it's this constant, right, drive for what? For what kind of self-important things do we need to get to that are so much more important than opening ourselves, our hearts and our consciousness wide so that we can receive the breath of life, the breath of God that is breathing us and breathing those that are in front of us? How much we miss, right? How much we must miss in a day, in a lifetime, when we live in that driving kind of way. I am preaching to myself today. I don't know if any of you are getting anything out of it, but I'm listening. But this practice of I don't know, of opening, of curiosity, it can lead us to epiphany. What is epiphany? It's a moment of realization. It's an aha. It's an insight. It usually comes with inspiration. The idea of being in spirit, that word comes from that. So being in spirit, inspired, a moment of, I get it, right? Something dawns on us. Suddenly we have an understanding. The light bulb goes off. We understand, or we see something in someone else that we hadn't seen before, or we see it in ourselves in a whole new way. And we say, wow, there's sort of that, that wonder that comes with Epiphany. Epiphany is also the day that the Magi came to bring Jesus gifts. So it was 12 days after his birth. And what caused that to happen was an epiphany. These three wise ones, these wise men were also astrologers who were following the night sky. They also were tuned to not only the cosmos, but to the spirit within. Magi in Persia means priest. So they were priestly figures who were aware, very spiritually attuned. And that star represents our intuition. So they follow that bright star in the sky, yes, to go to the place, but also they were following within to go to this pull, this compelling kind of energy that was pulling them there. And they had a sense of some kind of spiritual breakthrough that is about to happen. Some kind of, I don't know if this image works for you, but it's sort of the thing that comes to mind for me is, how sports teams sometimes have those hoops and the first player breaks through, it can be paper or whatever, and then the rest of the team comes through and they all come out on the field or the court, you know what I'm talking about? And so it's kind of like that. It's like the first one to break through the portal, right? And Jesus was that, he represented that. And so they had a sense like something like that's going to happen. There's a really important birth happening and there's some kind of new something happening. And so when one of us breaks through the consciousness to a whole new level, we open the way, we open up the portal for the whole team to come, for all of humanity to come through, right? And where are we coming through onto? We're coming onto the playing field. We're not in the stands judging that this guy or that guy isn't playing well or coaching well or umping well or all that stuff that goes on during the game, right? In the busyness of that egoic mind. We are now on the field. Let's see how we do on the field, right? And so it's a willingness to say, I'm in the game, God. I'm in the spiritual game. I'm willing to do the spiritual practice. I'm willing to engage in my life. I'm willing to be on the field. And maybe I'm even the one who's the first one on the field who breaks through that level of consciousness. How exciting that is in a life, not just a spiritual life, but in a lifetime, that we could have that kind of epiphany that would break through. And a whole new world could be born out of that. And so it's that kind of knowing that these wise men then that had this sense, because they traveled a long way. So this wasn't just like sort of a passing thing, hey, let's go on a trip. It was like, we must go. We must go. Get the camels. It's time to go. Get the gifts. And so what were those gifts that they brought? They brought gold, right? Gold, which is a financial resource. They brought gold so that there could be an ease of financial resources, so there could even be wealth. And they brought with them frankincense, which was an incense that would be burned in the temples in spiritual ceremony. And it was a way of invoking spirit, of worshiping God, of giving thanks to the divine. And so there is a recognition that there is a divine birthing going on. There is a divine rebirthing going on. Something is happening in our world, just like now. And then there is this gift of myrrh. And the myrrh was a healing ointment. And so that myrrh is used for healing. And what gifts could we think of that we could ever need besides financial resources, spiritual ceremony, and health? With those three, we have all that we ever could need. And by spiritual ceremony, I mean everything that goes with that, right? Spiritual recognition of that everything is really a spiritual ritual and ceremony once we really start living from this place. And the actual ceremonies that we do together and rituals that we do together in places like this where we gather. So all of that being essential to our well-being. And that's essentially what the wise men were bringing, were gifts for the well-being, yes, of Jesus, but of so much more, right? Of the Christ in all of us, of the spirit of the divine, of the universal goodness that was coming forth, breaking through. So, giving is a spiritual practice that is linked to epiphanies. When we give, it's a spiritual practice because we have epiphanies and that lead us to more epiphanies, realizations, recognitions, remembrances, insights, ahas, inspirations. So when we give spiritually, it's this practice that we have that is linked then to the flow of spiritual goodness and spiritual teachings and spiritual principles and all those things that buoy up our lives, that make our lives richer and better in every way. So a different Abraham knew this truth, right? The first Abraham we talked about, Oleg, I keep having to look at his name, Oleg Begi, the first young Abraham that we looked at, was a demonstration of social giving. And he is named after the biblical Abraham, who taught us spiritual giving. From his first action of tithing, in which he received the spoils of war, and he went to the high priest Melchizedek, and he gave 10%. And he gave 10% of that, as a tithe means a tenth. And it's a nice round multiplying number, right? So the idea is that we give 10% of what we receive to the places where we are spiritually fed, and the blessings come back tenfold. And so it's this practice of give and take, of law of circulation, and Abraham represents faith. So he's always, he's that representation that is our representation, right? Because that's what we call up inside of us when we give in such a way. When we tithe, when we keep our giving regular like that and engage in that kind of spiritual practice. So Abraham and his wife Sarah were blessed late in life with their son Isaac. And they also were blessed at the end, toward the end of their lives. They said that Abraham was 99, and I think Sarah was pretty close to the same age. And God gave them new names. So how would that mean for us? It would be like we got a recognition, right? An epiphany, a realization that, I have a new name now, right? We would receive that kind of guidance. And their new names had ha and ah in them. So Abraham used to be Abram, and he was given the ha in the middle of his name, which is the breath of God, the breath of life. And Sarah didn't have the H on the end of her name, but when that was added, it gave the ah. And so the breath of life, the very breath of the divine, was recognized in the changing of their names. Abraham, Sarah. And that is the gift that we are given, the recognition, the epiphany, the realization of this breath of life that we have, this giving and this receiving that is our abundant good. The life itself that we have been given is the gift. And it's easy to forget that, isn't it? Life gets hard, and then we go, we're just sort of like muddling through, right? Struggling. But if we can remember the breath, just that, if we can just sigh and release and let go, and it just automatically opens us again. It can start with the body, and then everything else follows. So as we today, like Abraham, still practice this practice called tithing, this giving of 1/10. It's not just some archaic practice from the past. It's alive with the breath of God. And the only way to know it is to try it. I could talk all day about it, but that won't make any difference to anyone unless they try it. And the process of trying, like I've had people say, Unity is really simple. And it's like, okay, maybe simple. Maybe some of the ideas are simple on the surface to understand, but not always easy, right? It's the practice that we're about. It's that, we get the principles on an intellectual level, but they're not going to go anywhere until we put feet to them, until we try them ourselves, till we go through those moments of feeling the lack and the limitation and the fear and the anxiety of giving. And then we step out in faith and go, let me give it. Let me see what happens. Let me take this as an experiment. That's what happened. My very first Unity class at Unity of Chicago was a tithing class that I took with my sister. And we went through all the great things about visioning and goals and all that. And then it comes down to this practice called tithing, right? And so you can feel the tension starting to sort of ripple through the room a little bit. But I stayed in that place of curiosity because I wanted to experiment with this. I was new to these principles, and it was very exciting to me. And I believed the teachers. If it worked for them, I was going to try it. What did I have to lose? So what if it doesn't work? Then it doesn't work. But I want to see what it feels like to get in this flow of giving and tithing and this practice. And so I was all for it. And I took out my checkbook and wrote my check and, was ready for the basket to come around. And my sister was sitting next to me, and I looked over, and the whites of her fingers were like showing around the grip on her check. And it looked like she was like completely holding her breath, just like there was just a complete constriction. And I was like, Kay, it's okay. Just try it. We'll just try it. We'll just see how it goes. Just experiment. I'm trying to like talk her through it, right? The basket is coming, and there she is, like all poised. And I literally like took her hand and said, it's okay, just let go. Just let go. And I think sometimes my sister's still sort of in that position, and we've had some conversations over the years about it. And yet I tried it and it worked for me. And what I mean by worked is not some sort of superstitious practice, but it worked to enter into that flow of spirit, to participate in the flow of the divine and the life breath of God through a material means, to be able to use money, finances, and time and talent and service and all those things to give of it and to experience then what does that feel like? What does it do to me? What does it do to my life? And it blows the doors open. That's what it does. It makes for a bigger opportunity. It allows us to step into possibility. But how will we ever know if we don't try? How will we ever know if we keep doing this? And we can, but God bless us when we're willing to try even in those kind of constricted, fearful, anxious places. So if a tenth is like, whoa, that is too much, and that's where some people, then some say, just start wherever. I had somebody tell me once, years ago, that she didn't tithe, she didn't give anything for like 10 years because she had been taught tithing, and she thought in order to give, you had to give 10%, and 10% was too much for her, so she gave nothing. So for 10 years, she didn't practice at all because she thought you have to hit the magic number of 10, a tenth, and therefore she wouldn't give anything. So I was like, that's a little bit letter of the law and not spirit of the law, right? I mean, there is something about tithing and a tenth, I think, but we certainly don't stop our good or stop the flow by giving in whatever ways we give, right? So whatever that might be, it's financially, it's talent, it's service, it's time, it's all of these. It's social giving, it's spiritual giving, it's freely giving, it's frequently giving. It's all of this that allows us to participate in that flow. Luke says, give and it will be given to you. A good measure, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you give back. And I would add, and then some. And then some. And we don't know what that and then some is until we step in and try. So during these 12 days of Christmastide, I want to encourage us to recommit to the practice of giving in so many different ways that we can give, by tithing, by giving of our time, by giving socially, by just like open up the floodgates and give. As somebody once said, you cannot outgive God. It will always keep coming back around, right? I think that was Ernest Holmes, but I might be misquoting, so forgive me if so. But it's that idea that Yeah, sometimes there aren't words right, and I've said enough, so you know what I'm saying. To live in the spirit of generosity, this is the way that we can give. We can get into the spirit of giving. And when we do, we will be richly blessed. And people, once we start doing this, the stories start coming in, stories start flooding in. So please don't be shy about sharing your stories. I think we'll kind of prepare for some of that after the first of the year, that people can share their tithing stories and their abundant stories. Did you want to share something, Zula? Zula wants to share right now. All right, come on up. Do you want to come to the microphone?
Some of you know that I was homeless for a while, and some of you don't. But I received a lot of help from a lot of you, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I also want to honor Desmond Tutu. He and you need to get the book.
The Book of Joy?
The Book of Joy, the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. If you haven't read it, please get that book. He was a very special man. Desmond Tutu was able to bring peace in ancient warring peoples, and he did it by seeing the dignity in all of the people. And we all have that same dignity. So regardless of color, regardless of religion or creed or whatever, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Zula. And the stories will continue to come. So let me know if you want to share, and we'll plan that after the first of the year. Well, let's bless this giving, this spirit of generosity, this living into the spirit of generosity, the giving, the free and frequent giving that richly blesses us in return. Let's say it together. I live in the spirit of generosity, giving freely and frequently, and I am blessed. So it is.
Thank you, Tyler, and thank you, Reverend Kristen. Yeah. Beautiful message. Glad I got to sit in on both services. I encourage you to come to the second one. Wow. Yeah, it just brings it home even more, so thank you. Our prayer chaplains are available after the service to provide personal prayer support. If you are a prayer chaplain serving today, please stand. Our prayer chaplains wear the lavender stoles.
So whether you have a joy or a concern in your heart today, praying with our prayer chaplains is a powerful opportunity to have your intentions raised up in consciousness.
Now, let's open our hearts to the practice of giving. I invite you to prepare your gifts as we align with the universal law of circulation. As we give, we shall receive. In truth, there is no lack or limitation. Abundance is our true nature.
For your convenience, there are a variety of ways to give financially to this community. In addition to checks and cash, you may download the Give app and use the credit and debit card envelopes provided on a clipboard in front of you, in the back of the chair in front of you, or set up bill pay through your bank. Those of you at home may click the donate button on the Watch Live page.
I invite you to take your tithe or offering in your hand. We'll repeat our affirmation together. Divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful.
Thinking about generosity and being in the flow. Every time it rains pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. Trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thundering, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you. Pennies from heaven for you. Pennies from heaven for you and me.
Thank you for waking me up. No, that song was just so lovely, and you did it so, yeah, it was just fabulous. The oldies are the best, aren't they? Come on up. Yeah, it's still. Thank you. All right, well, I think of you guys as the two wise men. Where's the third? Bearing the gifts to our sanctuary. So let's just open our hearts and our minds and our bodies and our beings to receive that life breath of Spirit. As we give, we truly do receive. Let's bless it together. We give thanks for the ever-increasing, constant flow of absolute good in our lives now. So it is. So our children are meeting, and of course they are a great blessing, so we're going to just send our love over to their area as we bless our children, youth, and teachers. Together? Children, youth, and teachers, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divine light within you. Now we invite you to share with us in our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God ever present. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
You are the light and the love and the generosity on earth right now. So let your light shine. Have fun and spread joy. Happy Kwanzaa, happy Christmastide.